Our top story, sending a strong message to Beijing. UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said the golden era of China-UK ties has come to an end and that the UK now sees China as a systemic challenge.
We also need to evolve our approach to China. Now, let's be clear, the so-called golden era is over, along with the naive idea that trade would automatically lead to social and political reform. But nor should we rely on simplistic Cold War rhetoric. We recognise China poses a systemic challenge to our values and interests, a challenge that grows more acute as it moves towards even greater authoritarianism. Instead of listening to their people's protests, the Chinese government has chosen to crack down further.
Sunak made his first foreign policy comment while speaking at the Lord Mayor's banquet. It is important to remember that the phrase golden era is associated with London's closer ties with Beijing under former Prime Minister David Cameron. But in the last 8 years, after Cameron's term ended, relations between the two countries have deteriorated. While campaigning for number 10, both Rishi Sunak and former Prime Minister Liz Truss promised a tough stance on China. Truss reportedly was planning to categorize China as a threat to the UK in her government's foreign policy review. And Sunak, although toned down, echoed the same sentiment. He said the UK now needed to replace wishful thinking with robust pragmatism towards competitors. Since taking office, the British leader has been under pressure from Tory backbenchers to adopt a more hawkish approach towards China, and use of the words robust pragmatism did not sit well with many senior party members. Former Tory leader Ian Duncan Smith even said, "I wonder if robust pragmatism now sounds more and more like appeasement." For more on this story, we're now joined by our correspondent Alex Issac, who is reporting from London. Alex, Rishi Sunak's first foreign policy statement as Prime Minister, and quite a strong statement on China, where he says the golden era of UK-China ties is over and China now poses a systemic challenge. The Prime Minister couldn't have been more direct.
Absolutely. People were concerned, there was many from his own party in the opposition, that he was going to be a bit soft on China. He wanted to obviously try and meet the Chinese president, when he was at the COP27, but that didn't come about. And there was the concerns, even though during his hustings and even when he was in Boris Johnson's cabinet, he did talk about the foreign policy that he wanted to implement that would try and reduce the simplistic visas that China has been allowed to use since that golden decade started back in David Cameron's times. But it seems now it's quite clear that both China and Russia are threats to the nation that he wants to try and overcome. Now, back when he was going through all those hustings, there was talk about being a lot stricter. We talked about the institutes, about the education system within the UK and how easy it was for China to buy up tech companies and properties, and he said that he wanted to put a stop to that. Whether or not he will then push this forward, we won't know until the new year, because this new foreign policy about China itself is going to come out then. But we are expecting that there is going to be a stop on China being able to buy up some of the properties in the tech market, because those are things that not just Rishi Sunak, but a lot of businesses are concerned about.
All right. Are the Tories finally happy with the strong statement made by the Prime Minister on China? Thanks very much, Alex, for getting us all those details.